All right, with us right now, we've got Amanda Ward. Amanda, you are from awardinglife.com. You're a personal friend of mine, and you kind of like you're kind of like your own Oprah, right? You help people live their best life. And
I've never heard it said like that. I'll take it.
And I should. I'm very, very delighted to have Amanda in this conversation. This is part 2 of a 3-part series, and in this conversation, we're going to talk very specifically about eating for busy parents and why, when we're really, really busy with life, how that impacts our eating, what we can be doing instead that can really help us to live healthier if we have extra weight that we'd like to shed, what changes you can make that are actually really going to work. And I should say, Amanda, that you and I have been working together in my first 43 days of following your program. I was able to drop 3.25 inches off my waist. And all I did was just follow what you said to do. And I committed to it. It was helpful. I had some check-ins with you that helped with that process. But it really wasn't rocket science. And when I say it wasn't rocket science, honestly, the eating is not that complicated. And that's going to feed into what this conversation is all about. As we get started, I want the person who's watching this to know, if you're watching this video, there's a link on the bottom of the screen, and it's savingsangel.com/2020. If you're listening to the podcast and you want to see the video of Amanda and I talking, so far it's been me going blah, blah, blah a lot, but trust me, I'm going to let Amanda have the stage here. But if you go to savingsangel.com/2020, Amanda, you have a wonderful group, I want to say coaching program, but a community that you've built with accountability and coaching and support and education. And anyone can go to that link right now and you can get 30 days free. If you decide that you'd like to stay a part of this community, then it's just $10 a month. And I can tell you firsthand that support, that program, that community is really what's allowed me. And this is just in the past couple of months. Now it's 3.5 inches as of when we're recording this. And I suspect it's going to be more because, again, it's all about what I did is all about what we're going to talk about in this in this episode in regards to eating. But Amanda, again, thank you so much for joining us. But I want to start off by one question. And that is, in terms of someone says, I would like to lose weight, what percentage of the effort would you say is attributed to what you eat as opposed to, I'm just going to go exercise?
Baseline, 98.9%.
Wow. I believe it. So I've done that. Like, I trained for one of my goals. So I lost a bunch of weight a long time ago, like about 11 years ago. And then I gained some of it back. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to lose that weight again, and maybe even a little bit more. And so I started training for a marathon. And so I was doing a lot of exercising. I was constantly running. And you know what, Amanda? I didn't lose any weight. I gained weight, in fact, during that training program. And it's, I would look and I'd say, well, I burned 800 calories today. I should be able to eat 800 more calories of food. And it doesn't work out like that, does it?
Nope, not even a little bit. It's so much more complicated with that. I can't even that's funny because I hear a marathon here, right? Like I run marathons. So I totally get it. And that's the thing, as somebody who just kind of offer just a tiny bit of self-disclosure to this point, is that I worked out most of my life. But over the past year, actually last summer, I kind of say kind of, because it wasn't all or nothing, but I really took a big hiatus from my intense exercise. I basically entered into a season of rest, and that was to deal with my own autoimmune struggles and some energy deficiencies that I had. But I'm human. It doesn't matter that I'm a wellness coach or a therapist. I'm human. And I had that initial gut fear of, oh my goodness, I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to get fat because my body isn't moving. It is not the metabolism, all those things we've been taught, right? I'm healthier now than I was when I started, and I did not gain a pound. And it's so that's what I mean when I so confidently say 98.9% of it is food. Wow. It's not as simple as calories in, calories out, the way, even though we're starting to be taught differently, and there's a lot more mainstream functional alternative medicine being taught, we really have it ingrained in us that calories in, calories out is how we lose and gain weight. But it's really about energy, right? Like, to your point, if you start working out at a level that has you burning so many calories per day, your body's going to adapt to that. It's going to learn it has to function at that level. And so maybe there's a little bit of weight fluctuation as you start or stop working out, either side of that spectrum. But it's not very long before your body's going to find its new set point. It's going to find a new way to live and stay at its new homeostasis, whatever that is.
So what about the advice, eat less, move more?
That advice makes my skin crawl. I can't tell you how many
But the government gives that advice.
I know, and I don't watch the news, so there's that. But I can't tell you how many people have come to me and have said, that has been recommended to me. Please help me find a workout. Please help me find a fitness schedule that fits this need, right? And what we have found in almost, you said, mentioned some people you've worked with. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've worked with where I've actually had to coach them to eat more and train less. I have these avid, every now and then I get a beautiful woman who comes to me and she's like, I'm a triathlete and I'm a this and I run 6 days a week and then I lift at this and I go to Orange Theory or CrossFit or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's awesome. So glad you're pumped about that. But how do you feel? Right. And so really what we end up doing is finding the balance that works for that individual. And it is not always eat less, move more.
So we'll talk about that 1.1% of the formula in our next episode. In this one, I want to speak specifically about eating. But so just look for episode 3 because truth be told, exercise has a lot of benefit, but weight loss is just one of the benefits. And honestly, if you really want to shed weight, my experience, Amanda, is and you can, kind of go much more into this. It's not, I have, let me share my story real quick on the first time that I shed my 57 pounds of weight or 60 pounds of weight. It was sheer white knuckling, really low calorie, didn't really do any exercising, but it was just calorie restriction. And I stuck with it. And I was so miserable during the process. I lost the weight, but guess what? I gained immediately. Like I dropped all that weight, immediately gained 15 to 20 pounds back. And calorie restriction alone is probably not the best strategy for long-term health and vibrancy and staying at a healthy weight. Why is that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, you just nailed it right there with the long-term piece. Again, when we talked a little bit about human psychology in our first conversation, but an initial change is going to create an initial reaction. It doesn't matter what area of life we're looking at, right? So if you start restricting calories from your body, it is automatically going to say, oh no, we don't have enough. And that's where weight loss comes from, right? Like it's burning more than it's taking in, right? Well, after a period of time, your body was made to adapt. Like this is the way we're made. And if we weren't made to adapt, then we wouldn't be here. We'd all be dead. Because we wouldn't adapt to all of these challenges and stresses and changes in life. So your body goes, oh, you're changing things up on me? Okay, I'm going to learn how to operate at a lower level. I don't need as much food. It's called metabolic adaptation.
Right.
When you get to that point, that's what people call plateaus. It's go, wait a minute, it was working. Why isn't it working anymore?
Yeah.
And suddenly they find they have to either restrict more, right? Or be okay gaining their weight back. And that's no way to live.
That's exactly what happened to me. And so, now with your group coaching program, what you do is you teach healthy eating principles. You and I were able to do some individual coaching as well, which you offer. And by the way, and this is not, I don't make any affiliate. This is an affiliate relationship or anything like that on your $10 a month group coaching program, which is amazing. And if you just, the person who's watching or listening to us, again, savingsangel.com/2020, which is the year, you will be able to get 30 days free and they've got, what do you have in terms of like the education? Like you've got videos that you offer. What can you kind of share what is included in that, Amanda?
Yeah, actually just in the past year, we've launched an online classroom component to the group coaching program. And you can go into that classroom and it's ever growing, it's ever developing and accumulating over time. But there are user-friendly guides, there are resources, there are modules where what we cover in the platform, the communication platform of the group, which we'll talk about in a second, that stuff is being added to this online library because the communication really does happen inside of a Facebook group. It's kind of that channel of communication where I pop out some education every day and then I put a check-in, a daily accountability post at the end of the day. So we bookend the day with influence and accountability. And then everything that happens in between is up to you in your life. You're checking in, you're asking questions, you're not, you're waiting until the end of the day and then reviewing your day. You're getting that first, several of my clients tell me first thing in the morning, we talk a lot about routine. And so I'm a big believer in routine creating structure and security. And when I say security, I don't just mean safety. I mean, it secures the rest of your day being what it needs to be. So a lot of times I'll have people tell me that they get up, they drink their water, they do their repetitions of whatever it is. And this is all very individual work. And then they check into the group and they say, okay, what is my focus for the day? Maybe I'm teaching about intermittent fasting, or maybe I'm talking about anti-inflammatory foods, or maybe I'm reminding you what lunch could look like today, that sort of stuff. So it's kind of constant influence that is not only available as needed, but available in a consistent manner so that you're building a cushion around your core desire, which is to be healthier and to be your best you.
A lot of people will be tuning into this and, they're just looking for, information on what to eat or what they shouldn't be eating. I mean, that's very, very common with what people are looking for. So let's talk about a couple things.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to talk about, Amanda, is something that you stress a lot. And even though I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll do it, is kind of an anti-inflammatory approach to eating. Why are you a proponent of that?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So
I mean, all I can say is it worked. Even if I don't agree with it, it worked.
Right.
And I was like, I don't agree with it. I don't really have a lot of information on an anti-inflammatory diet, but I could just tell you that, cutting out dairy and cutting out peanuts and cutting out, a lot of the, gluten in the breads and that sort of thing for a season. Right.
Right.
I was like, okay, I can't argue with the results. This is good. I feel good.
Right.
I'm not crashing. Okay. I'm answering your question. I'm so sorry, Amanda. I'll let you explain why you are a big fan of anti-inflammatory diet.
Well, and it's fun that you're answering the question because that means that you didn't just follow a program, lose some weight, and be happy about it. Like you are a completely different vessel of knowledge now because of what you've gone through. And that's the point. We glean information for ourselves and we become what we know. So anti-inflammatory, maybe it's not a word you see plastered all over the next big diet, but at the end of the day, what that means is eat real food because our bodies were made to process real food. And truth be told, so much of the food industry has become about creating the tastiest, quickest, cheapest version of whatever it is that people are wanting. And that stuff is stuff. It's not food. And so what you get is what we've already talked about. There's a parallel effect with how we're made and how we live. There, for any stimulus, there's a reaction. So here comes this food that's not really food, and it's additives and it's colors and it's dyes, and maybe the animal it came from was pumped full of chemicals, whatever. There's a million different ways this could happen. And your body goes, oh, I don't know what to do with that. And it reacts to it, and it reacts with inflammation. And you don't have to look very far on Google to find out that inflammation has been identified as the number one source of illness, weight gain, chronic disease. Pretty much every problem we have comes from inflammation. And so when we address physical health from a standpoint of inflammation, we go, okay, well, I have to stop putting in what my body is inflaming around. And as soon as you do that, all of that inflammation goes down. And not only do you get your initial spike of what we see on the scale or in our pants as weight loss, you also start to feel differently, and you start to feel more. And so anti-inflammatory diets not only help us lose that inflammatory bloat and puffiness that we're carrying around, they also open up our consciousness and help us to understand ourselves better. And remember, that's a huge component about the way I teach wellness is you have to be able to read yourself. You have to know your body and what it needs and how it feels best. So anti-inflammatory diets are really the gateway into understanding what I can eat, what my body doesn't like. And so that brings us to, understanding even some food sensitivities. And this is where I go back to that umbrella statement of like one specific way of eating is not for everyone. There are some people who can eat grains and who can eat dairy, and that's amazing. Good for y'all. And then there are some people who know how much of each thing that they need to not eat because they've opened up the space to be able to discern within themselves what's best for them.
Yeah. Another thing, Amanda, that I think a lot of people have been hearing about a lot lately, especially, over this past year, is intermittent fasting, which if you're not really familiar with it, or it sounds either scary or weird, like, whoa, I'm not going to eat during a period of time. What? That seems unhealthy. Can you kind of share a little bit about your insight on IF? And I should say that I am a proponent of it in a very big way. And I can just tell you from a user experience that, it takes a few days to a week to really kind of adapt and respond to what you thought were hunger signals differently. So it used to be that I would have these, what I felt like hunger signals at night. And I'd say, oh my gosh, hunger, I need to take care of this. And then I would go and I would eat a bowl of cereal and, or something, right? And something. And so through the exercise of, being in an eating window or not an eating window, I've learned to acknowledge what really is hunger and what is, just kind of like this pattern that I had developed. Boy, there's so many benefits, health benefits to allowing your body to rest. I'll let you, maybe I don't know. I wouldn't even know. I just finished a book by Dr. Jason Fung. So my brain is exploding with, knowledge about the benefits of allowing your body to rest. But I could just tell you that from again, one more user experience from this is that it's just a lot easier to stay on a healthy eating program and not mindlessly eat things that don't support me in my eventual goal, which is weight loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the ticket right there, is developing mindfulness, which is a skill and we can all access it. But truth be told, our influences in our environment and the diet culture kind of deter us from building that skill. And that's where a community of support and accountability comes in, and really is very helpful. But with regards to the intermittent fasting piece, I'm going to throw a blanket statement out there first and say that, individually speaking, it's not for everyone. And there are many reasons for that. And it's not that, oh, it's healthy for some and it's not healthy for others. No, I mean, Dr. Fung is an expert in intermittent fasting, and probably from reading that book, but you could also do a quick, PubMed search and see the research is there. This is something that's good for us. Cycles, seasons, bouts of rest and bouts of doing, right? This is, again, I talk in parallels, but it mocks the way that we're supposed to be living. And in that regard, so many of us are already practicing some level of intermittent fasting already, unless you are eating through the night.
Right.
I'm not talking about the occasional midnight snack here or there, whatever. But in general, people are not eating between the hours of hopefully like 8 p.m. and when they wake up in the morning. Right. But the research is showing us that your body actually hasn't even fully processed or digested or detoxed the things that you took in yesterday for a little bit longer than that. So it's super simple. Like the way that I recommend it first for people to play with, it's not dangerous or risking your health at all, is to practice what it would be considered like a 14 to 16 hour fasting window, followed by that next level of eating. So I call it 16-8. So maybe you finish your dinner at 7 p.m. Okay, the goal now is not to eat until 11 a.m. the next day. And so you give yourself that 16 hours to really allow everything to happen. And we just talked about inflammation, but this is a big, big factor in decreasing inflammation in our body, is actually giving your body the time and space it needs to get things where they need to go and to get things out. And so maybe that's a little bit of a struggle for someone at first, but so they usually eat breakfast at 7 a.m. and they're going to push it back till 8 and see how that goes. And then they're going to push it back till 9 and see how that goes. It's not an all or nothing fail or succeed process. You dip in and out of it over time. We just develop a cycle for the way that we give our body time to do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. And I just had a friend ask me, which is better, keto or intermittent fasting? And I'm like, why is it an either or thing? And so I think he's just looking for a way that he could do this, right? And so I think an easy way that you could just dip your toe in the water is a great place to start with intermittent fasting. Is what's known as a 16-8, which basically says that you're going to eat within an 8-hour window. So for me, that was generally 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that was my eating window. And then if it's after 6 p.m., that's great. I'll just wait until tomorrow morning and then I'll eat then. And so just that exercise alone, and do that for a week, do that for a couple of weeks, do that for 30 days. And don't worry about going to, well, I'm only going to eat, OMAD or one meal a day,
right.
Or, start doing, 24, 36 hour fast. Don't worry about that stuff at the beginning. Just get comfortable with the, just being much more aware of, what you thought was, and again, this is for me, this is user experience. It's training yourself to not freak out when you have that slightest tinge of, am I hungry right now? Maybe I should eat. No, you actually don't need to. And what I found, Amanda, is that because I responded differently to those very quiet, what I would consider hunger before, I just don't freak out ever. That I, if I don't eat, for, let's say it's like I ate at 10 and I was just really busy at work and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's dinner time. I don't even notice now. That is one of the gifts that intermittent fasting will give you, is that you're not a slave to your hunger pangs or supposed hunger pangs.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said that better. It definitely frees you up from food. It is a strategy to detract yourself from the obsession of food that we've gotten caught in. And, you hit on that mindset and psychology piece again with, we find ourselves in the trap of scarcity. It's like, oh, I got to eat now or I'll never eat again. Or, I got to go because the hot and ready sign is on. So I have to go now. We get this, and it's just this urge that comes up and we respond to the urge. And that's that immediate gratification piece. So again, this is a great place to say that when you have the accountability system in place, oh yeah, I have to talk about this. This is a thing. Like I'm working to not do that anymore. It becomes a conversation.
Yeah. Well, Amanda, I know you've helped a lot of great people with your community. And again, Savings Angel members, you get 30 days free. Don't be telling all of Amanda's other people about this, but it'll be our little secret. But you can get those 30 days free if you go to savingangel.com/2020. And again, I don't make any money on that. I just absolutely love the work that Amanda's doing. I believe in it. It works. I was able to drop over 3 inches in 43 days off of my waist. So, I mean, the anti-inflammatory program, Amanda, that you coach. And again, you could just go in, watch other videos, jump into the resource, join the community, get going. And if you decide you want to stick around, it's just $10 a month. And Amanda, what are some results of some people that you've been able to work with? Like what kind of stories have you been able to be a part of?
Gosh, they make me smile, and you get a little off guard there, but just a couple. One person dropped 30 pounds and ran a marathon within a year. Wow. And it's so fun. The reason that one pings in my mind so quickly is because I also teach fitness classes locally, and she happened to be a local, but also a member of the virtual community. And, every time she picks up a 30-pound dumbbell, she'll go, "Oh, this used to be me," So that one sticks very close to my heart. Several marathons have come out of the coaching group. And that doesn't have to be your goal, but
no, right.
That's a thing. And I could never do that. Right. Yes, you can. I think
I saw, Amanda,
if I could
say, for me, that was one of those things that I felt like I could never do. And by the way, you don't have to do a marathon, like a half marathon, 10K, 5K. Like if that's your big audacious, like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could ever do that. Like maybe, or ride a bike for 20 miles. For me, Amanda, my first goal in running was to be able to run without stopping, run to the back gate of my big neighborhood subdivision area and back. And that was 4.5 miles. Was like, I can't imagine doing that because running around the block is painful for me.
Oh my gosh.
I know what that's like. And so being able to run 4.5 miles without having to break into a walk, the first time I did it, I cried because I was like, I've never been an athlete in my life. I was the heavy kid in school, and I was never good at sports. And to be able to do something like that, and then eventually, for me, I did have a goal of wanting to see if I could run a marathon. What provoked me was, at the time, we're not going to talk into it because we know how this ends. But I was watching Biggest Loser, and we'll keep our commentary pithy on that. But one thing that they did do in season 7 is at the end of it, they all ran a marathon. Now, again, they're doing some running and walking and that sort of thing. And I'm like, man, if these guys can do it, I can do it. And sure enough, I dropped a bunch of weight. Trained for and finished my first marathon. And I ran the Disney Marathon here in Orlando. And one of those things I thought, no way I could ever do. And it's like, if other people can do it. And again, marathons, that's
right. Your marathon
10K, honestly, is a huge, huge deal for a lot of people. And that might be your thing.
Well, and it doesn't even, it's not even specific to running. Like, I think just the words, like, I could never, because I am too unhealthy, to have too much body weight, whatever. The idea is that that's your marathon. And, it's coming up
Run
in my
and
mind.
Play with my kids in the park for an hour straight.
Do 5 push-ups on my toes. There's a woman in the group who quit smoking because she was able to get so close to understanding how her body felt that she used that support to be able to stop this habit she didn't want to do anymore. There have been people who, this is not a claim. I am not a medical professional, but there have been people coming off of certain medications because they no longer need them. So your marathon is specific to you, just like your wellness is.
Yeah. Well, Amanda Ward, my friend, thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation about eating for busy parents and how we can eat in a way that will support our health a little bit better. Again, I'm going to I love that you shared that 98.9% of
That's
the
my
battle.
Number.
Yeah. But for episode 3, we're going to talk about that 1.1%. Yeah. We'll talk about all the other benefits that you get from exercise too. And I'll share some of my own experience with that as well. So Amanda Ward, again, just go to savingsangel.com/2020, and you can join Amanda for free for 30 days. And then if you decide that you'd like to continue to be a member, then it's just $10 a month. It's a wonderful support community that's going to help you hit all of your health goals for 2020. Amanda, thank you so much for that offer. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And we'll chat with you in about a week or so for part 3. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
So far, it's been me going blah, blah, blah a lot. But